The quiet corner of booth 9. The rain fell gently outside the diner window, tracing thin rivers across the fogged glass. It was early morning. The streets of the small town were quiet, and only a few tired cars rolled by now and then. Inside, the diner, the smell of coffee, bacon, and warm syrup filled the air. Mia had been up since 5 a.m. like always. She tied her long brown hair into a messy ponytail and adjusted her apron. Table 5 needed refills. Booth 3 was waiting for the check, and booth 9, she glanced at it quickly. A man in a gray cap sat there alone, reading something on his phone. A quiet plate of scrambled eggs untouched in front of him. He'd been there a few times before. Always in that same booth. Always quiet. Always tipping well, but never drawing attention. Mia didn't know his name. She just called him the booth 9 guy in her head. She never stared too long, but there was something familiar about him. Something calm in the way he held himself. Something kind, but she didn't have time to think about him. 2 small figures ran into the diner. Their shoes were soaked, their jackets too thin for this weather. The older one, maybe 10, held the hand of a smaller boy, probably 6. They slid into the corner of the last booth near the door. Their heads dipped low, like they were trying to disappear. Maya watched them for a second, then moved quickly to the back and poured 2 cups of hot cocoa. She grabbed a plate of leftover pancakes from the counter, ones that hadn't gone out because the customer left, and quietly slid them in front of the kids. "You eat first, we'll talk later," she whispered with a smile. The older one looked up, eyes wide and unsure. The little one was already biting into the pancakes. "Thank you, miss," the older boy said softly. She nodded and walked away. Behind her, in booth 9, the quiet man looked up. He had seen the whole thing. He had also seen how Mia hadn't charged them, how she'd used the food that would have been thrown out, how she kept glancing at the kitchen to make sure no one noticed what she was doing. He lowered his head again, but this time he wasn't reading his phone. He was thinking. An hour passed. The diner started to fill up. People came in, shaking off rain, ordering coffee, chatting about work or complaining about the weather. But Mia couldn't stop thinking about the 2 kids. They were still there holding the cups with both hands, trying to stay warm. They had no bags, no backpacks, just each other. She walked over during her break and sat on the edge of their booth. "What's your name, sweetheart?" she asked the older boy. "I'm Liam, and this is Jake. He's my little brother. Where's your mom or dad?" Liam looked away. "They're not coming," he said quietly. Mia's heart twisted. She didn't ask more. She just nodded. "Do you have anywhere to go?" Liam shook his head slowly. She closed her eyes for a second, then stood. "Stay here. I'm not letting you 2 out into the cold again. Let me figure something out." At the counter, her manager was frowning. He'd noticed the kids. He'd noticed her. "Mia," he said, "those kids haven't paid. This isn't a shelter." No, I gave them leftovers." "Still, this is a business. I'll cover it," she said. "You always say that." She didn't argue. She just turned and went back to her work. In booth 9, the man finally stood up. He walked to the register and waited for Mia to come over. She greeted him with her usual warm smile, trying to hide how tired she was. "Anything else today?" she asked politely. He looked at her for a long second, then said, "No, but do you always help people like that?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "Those kids, you didn't have to help them." She smiled again, this time more softly. "I was one of them once," she said simply. He nodded, then placed a $100 bill on the counter. "For the food, and for them," he said, "and keep the change." He left before she could say thank you. Outside, he pulled up his hood, walked to a black motorcycle parked under the diner sign, and rode off. Only after he was gone did the cook say, "Wait a minute, was that who I think it was?" "Who?" Mia asked. The cook stared out the window. "That guy in booth 9. That was Keanu Reeves." Mia froze. She looked down at The $100 bill in her hand. You're joking. I'm not, the cook said. I've seen him before. That was him. She looked outside again, but he was already gone. That night, she sat with the two boys in the break room, giving them warm soup from the diner kitchen and some dry clothes from the lost and found box. As Jake slept curled in a blanket, Liam looked up. You're kind, Miss Maya. I just don't like seeing kids hungry, she said. But deep down she was thinking of something else. A quiet man in booth 9, a man who had noticed, and she had no idea that he would return, again, and again, until everything changed, until her life became something she never expected, because kindness doesn't go unnoticed, especially not by someone like him. And booth 9 wasn't just any booth anymore. It was the beginning of everything. Return to booth 9. 3 days passed before Mia saw him again. The rain had stopped. The sun peeked through the clouds that Thursday morning, giving the streets a soft golden glow. Mia had just finished opening the diner, her hands cold from unlocking the front doors. She turned on the lights, set the coffee pots to brew, and placed the chairs down from the tables one by one. The bell above the door rang. He walked in quietly, like before, wearing a plain gray hoodie and dark jeans. He smiled politely, gave her a small nod, and went straight to booth 9. Maya stood still for a moment. This time she wasn't just seeing a customer. This time, she knew. It was really him, Keanu Reeves. But he didn't act like a movie star. He didn't demand anything special. He didn't even look around to see if people recognized him. He just sat down, took off his gloves, and placed his phone on the table. Mia approached slowly, her heart beating a little faster than usual. Good morning, she said gently. The usual. He looked up and smiled. Yes, please. And, can I ask something? Of course. Are the boys okay? The ones who came in the other day? She blinked, surprised. Yes, they're still staying. With me. The shelter's full. I've got a small couch, but they don't mind. He nodded thoughtfully. Do you trust the people at the shelter? Not always. That's why I haven't taken them there. I'm just trying to keep them warm and safe until something better comes. Keanu's eyes softened. You've got a good heart, Mia. She felt her face heat up. I know what it's like to have nothing. I can't ignore that. He didn't say anything else, just gave her that same calm look, as if he truly understood. As Mia walked back to place his order, her manager, Dave, approached again. His expression was cold. You're pushing it, Mia, he whispered. Keeping those kids here, feeding them. You're not their mom. I know, but they've got no one else. You're not a charity. I'll work overtime to cover their meals. You already work double shifts. You're going to burn out. Then let me burn out for something that matters. Dave sighed and walked off. Keanu heard everything. He didn't look up, but he heard every word. By the time his food came, he'd made a decision. He placed his napkin on the table and pulled out a folded piece of paper from his jacket. It had a list of names, contacts, foundations. One name was underlined, Hope's Reach, private housing program for at-risk kids. He'd helped fund it last year. Quietly, without his name attached, but he had the right number. He could make a call, but first he needed to be sure. As he finished his meal, he watched Mia walk back to the boys, checking on them like a big sister. Liam handed her a small drawing Jake had made, 2 stick figures holding hands under a sun. She smiled, knelt down, and gave Jake a hug. Keanu's heart tightened. When he stood to leave, he dropped something on the counter again. This time it wasn't just cash, it was a note. Maya picked it up as he disappeared through the door. Call this number. Ask for Julia. Tell her booth 9 sent you. Beneath the message was a private contact line, one she didn't recognize. She stared at it for a long time. When Liam asked what it was, she just smiled. Maybe it's help, she said, quietly. That night, after her shift, she sat in her tiny kitchen with a cup of tea. Liam and Jake were asleep on the couch wrapped in blankets. The apartment smelled like cinnamon and soap. It was small, just one bedroom. But it was safe. She picked up her phone and dialed the number. After 3 rings, a woman answered. "Hello, Julia speaking." Hi. I was told to call. Someone from booth 9 gave me your number." There was a pause on the other end, then warmth. "You must be Mia." "Yes. Keanu told me about you. He said you helped 2 boys, and that you're the kind of person the world needs more of." Mia covered her mouth, overwhelmed. "We have a place available," Julia continued. "A real one, not a shelter. A private home with a vetted caretaker. Liam and Jake would be safe, fed, and supported. If you're willing, we can meet tomorrow." Mia blinked fast to hold back the tears. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, please." The next morning, Keanu returned. Booth 9 was waiting. She didn't serve him right away. Instead, she sat across from him, her eyes still red from the night before. "You did this, didn't you?" she asked softly. He didn't. Deny it. Why? His answer was simple. Because when people like you show up in this world, the rest of us should pay attention. She looked down, speechless. Keanu added, "You gave them hope when they had none. Now it's my turn." Just then, Liam and Jake peeked from the kitchen holding paper bags with their clothes and drawings. "Are we going?" Liam asked. Maya stood and nodded. "We're going to meet someone special. Someone who'll take care of you." Keanu rose from his booth and smiled at them both. "You're brave boys," he said, "and you're lucky to have Mia." Jake looked up and asked, "Who are you?" Keanu leaned down and gently shook his hand. "Just a guy who believes in second chances." As the door closed behind them, the diner seemed quieter, but the story was far from over, because Mia's act of kindness had started something bigger. And booth 9, that was just the beginning. A thank you that echoed. The diner felt emptier without Liam and Jake. Even though Mia still had customers to serve, coffee to pour, dishes to carry, there was something quiet missing from her days now. She missed their laughter. She missed Jake's drawings and Liam's cautious smiles. But deep inside, she felt peace. She knew they were safe now. That mattered more than anything. 2 weeks had passed since booth 9 changed everything. Keanu hadn't come back. Not once. She found herself glancing at the booth every morning, hoping he'd walk in with that calm smile and quiet presence, but he didn't. Still, the note he gave her remained folded in her wallet like a small reminder that someone out there had noticed her when no one else did. Her manager, Dave, still frowned at her every time she helped someone, but even he had softened a little after what happened. "Those boys okay?" he asked one afternoon while Mia wiped down the counter. She nodded. "They're in a foster home now. They've got toys, a backyard. School starts next week." He grunted. "You did good, Mia." "Thanks," she said quietly. That evening she walked home under a sky full of stars. Her apartment was quiet, peaceful, but something was changing inside her. For years she had lived from paycheck to paycheck, hiding her own dreams under aprons and shifts. She had once wanted to be a teacher, or a nurse, something that helped people, but life hadn't made room for that. Her mother had gotten sick, her dad had left, and she had taken whatever job she could find to survive. But that night, as she stood at her window sipping tea, she thought about Liam and Jake again. Maybe it wasn't too late to change something. Maybe helping them was the start of her becoming the person she always wanted to be. The next morning, a letter arrived. No name on the envelope, just her address. She opened it with curiosity. Inside was a typed message on thick paper. "You are seen, you are valued, and you are capable of more than you believe. If you're ready to step forward, come to this address at 4 p.m. Beneath the note was an address downtown. No name, no explanation. She stood frozen for a long time, rereading the words. "Who?" she whispered, but deep down, she already knew. It had to be him. She worked her shift like usual, though her heart was racing the entire time. When 3:30 came, she grabbed her jacket and told Dave she had to leave early. "Some emergency?" he asked. "Not yet," she said with a nervous smile. "But it might be the start of something." He raised an eyebrow but didn't stop her. She took the bus to the address. It led to a quiet brick building near a park. She walked slowly up the steps and pushed open the door. Inside was a warm, clean room. On the walls were children's drawings, shelves filled with books, and a circle of chairs where a few people sat chatting. A woman walked over and smiled. "You must be Mia," she said. Mia blinked. "How do you know?" "Keanu told us you might come." She felt a lump in her throat again. "What? Is this place?" "It's a community center. We run youth programs, tutoring, free classes, support groups. We help kids and adults get back on their feet. And we're looking for people who care." Mia stared around at the space. Children laughing in a corner, a teenage girl reading quietly, a boy painting something, with wide brushstrokes. "We don't have money to pay much," the woman continued, "but we can train you, mentor you, help you finish your education if you want, help you become a counselor or social worker. You'd be perfect." Mia's hand covered her mouth. "Why me?" she asked. "Because someone saw something in you. Someone who doesn't waste words. He said you remind him of his own story, and that if you had the chance, you'd change the world." Mia wiped her eyes and nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "I want that." That night, as she walked home, she felt lighter than she had in years. But there was one more surprise waiting. On her doorstep was a small box, no label, no name. Inside was a letter. "Mia, the world notices when you care. I've seen too much pain in my life to walk away when someone like you still exists. I don't need thanks, but I want you to know that your kindness saved more than just 2 boys. It reminded me that quiet heroes still walk among us. We'll meet again. And next time you won't just be a waitress. You'll be something more." Booth 9. Beneath the letter was a gold pin in the shape of a small open hand. Maya held it tightly to her chest. She didn't cry this time. She smiled, a real, full smile, because she finally believed what he had already seen. She was more than she thought, and her story was just beginning. The story goes public. A week later, Mia stood at the front of a small classroom inside the community center, helping 3 children spell their names with colored blocks. She had never been called Miss Mia before, and every time a child said it with a smile, something healed inside her. She hadn't quit the diner, yet. She still worked mornings, then rushed across town for afternoon classes and volunteer hours. She was exhausted, but she was full. Really full. The kind of full that comes from doing something that matters. One afternoon, after the kids had left, she sat with Julia, the woman who ran the center. "How are Liam and Jake?" Mia asked. Julia smiled. "Better than ever. They've adjusted to their new foster home. The couple caring for them even asked if they could keep the boys long term. And Liam asked about you. He drew this." She handed Mia a folded piece of paper. It was a crayon drawing of her holding hands with Liam and Jake. Above their heads was a sun and a little heart next to the words, "Thank you, Miss Mia." Mia clutched the drawing and swallowed back tears. "They're safe because of you," Julia said gently. "No," Mia whispered, "because of Booth 9. That night, Mia wrote everything down in her old worn notebook. The kids, the moment Keanu Reeves handed her that note, the call to Julia, the community center, and how her life had changed. She didn't plan to share it. But the next morning, on a whim, she posted a short version of her story anonymously in a local Facebook group for community kindness stories. She thought nothing of it. But by that evening, the post had over 50,000 shares. The comments were flooding in. This gave me hope. We need more people like this waitress. Was it really Keanu Reeves? Someone find Booth 9. News reporters reached out. They wanted to know more. Local TV stations picked it up, then national ones, then international. But Mia stayed quiet. She didn't want attention. Until one morning, her phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. She answered softly. "Hello?" A gentle voice replied. "Hi, Mia, it's Keanu." Her breath caught. "You saw the story?" she asked, heart racing. "I did," he said. "You wrote it beautifully. It reminded me of something I forgot, how powerful one act of kindness can be." "I didn't use your name," she said quickly. "I never told anyone." "I know, but I'd like to tell the rest with you, on camera, together." "What?" She blinked. "You want to speak about it?" "Only if you're ready." Mia sat on her couch in silence for a moment. Then she nodded. "Yes, let's do it." A week later, they sat across from each other in a small studio, lights glowing softly overhead. A young female journalist with a calm voice asked the questions. "Keanu, you've played heroes on screen for years. What made you step in off screen?" He smiled gently. "I didn't step in. I was a witness. I saw a real hero quietly helping two kids when no one else even noticed them. Mia didn't do it for praise, she did it because her heart told her to. All I did was make a call." "And Mia," the journalist asked, "why did you help them? Why take that risk?" Mia looked at Keanu, then back at the camera. "Because they reminded me of myself, and if I didn't do something, who would?" The segment aired across the country. People cried, people donated, people signed up to volunteer. People found ways to help their own communities. A few days later, the community center received a donation large enough to open 2 new branches. Maya was offered a permanent role with full training included. The director handed her a set of keys and said, "You'll run the youth mentorship program now." At the diner, everything had changed too. Customers left $100 tips with notes that said, "I'm for booth 9. A publisher reached out asking Mia if she'd consider writing her full story as a book. Not for money, they said, but because others needed to read it. But through it all, Mia stayed humble. She still came in early for the kids, still made extra sandwiches with her own money, still checked on Liam and Jake every Sunday. One evening, as she locked up the center, a familiar motorcycle pulled up outside. Keanu got off and pulled off his helmet with that same soft smile. "Booth 9's a little far from here now," he said. She laughed. "You're still welcome. Any time." He reached into his jacket and handed her a box. Inside was a small bronze plaque that read, "Booth 9, where hope took its first step." She held it like it was made of glass. "I thought it might belong here now," he said. "No," Mia whispered. "It belongs in my classroom, so the kids always remember that someone's always watching, someone who cares." He smiled again. "That's the truth, Mia. Someone always is." As he drove off into the evening light, Mia placed the plaque against her chest and took a long, deep breath. Everything had started with one moment, one act of kindness, and the man in booth 9. But now it was a movement, and the world was listening. The ripple effect, the sun rose over the community center, painting the sky in soft pink and gold. Maya unlocked the front doors, her keys jangling softly in her hand. She no longer felt like the waitress with tired eyes and calloused feet. Now she was something more. She stepped inside and saw the bronze plaque gleaming on the wall near the entrance. Booth 9, where hope took its first step. Every student who walked past it asked about the story, and each time Mia told them the same thing in simple words. Kindness matters. Someone saw me doing good, and chose to do good too. Keanu's visit had changed everything, but the real magic happened in the days and weeks that followed. Across town, small diners and cafes put up signs. Free meals for kids in need. Booth 9 special. One local restaurant wrote Keanu's kindness breakfast on their chalkboard and served leftover meals to those who couldn't pay. News outlets kept running follow-ups, but the focus wasn't just on Keanu or Mia anymore. It was on the people following in their footsteps. A mechanic named Jordan saw the interview and decided to offer free oil changes to single mothers every Sunday. A retired school teacher opened her garage to tutor kids who had no one to help them with homework. And in dozens of small towns and cities, people left tips at random booths with napkin notes that read, "For the next Maya, for the next Keanu, for the next child who needs hope." But back at the community center, Mia was facing a different kind of challenge. A little girl named Zara had been coming to the center every day. She was only 7, quiet, with big brown eyes and a habit of drawing trees with hearts in the branches. She never spoke about her home, never smiled, until one afternoon she handed Mia a crumpled piece of paper with shaky handwriting. "Can I stay here forever?" Mia knelt beside her. "What's going on at home, Zara?" The girl looked away. "My mom cries every night. We have to leave our place soon. She says she can't keep me and my baby brother safe." Mia's chest tightened. That night, she sat with Julia and made calls. By morning, they had arranged a meeting with a local housing project, one that partnered with the same group Keanu had introduced her to weeks ago. But it wasn't just that. Mia also spoke at a city council meeting. She stood in front of a panel of officials, shaking slightly but holding a photo of Liam and Jake in one hand and Zara's drawing in the other. "We need better programs," she said clearly, "and we need more people watching from Booth 9, because kindness shouldn't be rare. It should be normal." By the end of her speech, the room was silent. Then one councilwoman stood and clapped. Others joined. Soon after, the city approved funding to expand the community center's programs. That same week, Zara and her family were placed in temporary housing with counseling and support. Zara smiled for the first time, and when she did, she hugged Mia tight and whispered, "I want to help kids when I grow up, too." Keanu came to visit again that weekend. He didn't come as a celebrity. He came with paint on his jeans and a donation box in his arms. He helped fix a broken bookshelf in the center's library. When the kids asked who he was, he just said, "Someone who believes in you." After lunch, he and Mia sat on a bench in the garden outside the center. "It's not just me anymore," Mia said. "People are helping each other everywhere." "Because of you," Keanu said softly. "No, because they saw what kindness can do." He looked at her and smiled in that quiet way of his. "I've played a lot of roles in my life," he said, "but watching you change the world without a script, that's the best story I've seen." They sat in silence for a moment, the sounds of children laughing in the distance. Then Mia reached into her bag and pulled out a small, neatly wrapped box. "What's this?" he asked. "Open it." Inside was a name tag. "Keanu, volunteer, Booth 9 team." He laughed, a soft, honest laugh, and pinned it to his shirt. "I guess I work here now." "You always did," Mia said with a grin. By the end of the week, they had started a new initiative called Booth 9 Network, a mentorship program where adults could help kids who felt invisible. Maya received a letter from Liam and Jake, now officially adopted by their foster parents. "Miss Mia, we're happy. We have a puppy now. We miss you. And we always remember Booth 9. Love, Liam and Jake." She read the letter aloud at a fundraiser. By the end, half the room was in tears. Every step she had taken, from that moment, she poured cocoa for 2 soaked boys, led to this one kind act, one silent observer. And now, a wave of kindness reaching further than she ever imagined. But the story wasn't done yet, because something even more unbelievable was about to happen. And Mia would once again find herself face to face with the impossible, not with fear, but with faith. Booth 9 Forever Spring had arrived, and the garden outside the community center bloomed with fresh color. Kids ran through the courtyard, their laughter echoing against the walls like a joyful melody. The plaque near the entrance glowed beneath the sunlight. Booth 9, where hope took its first step. Inside, Mia sat at her desk with a cup of tea and a stack of papers. She was reviewing new applications for the mentorship program. Over the past month, Booth 9 Network had expanded to 3 different cities. Volunteers from across the country were signing up. People who had once felt invisible were now guiding others with love and understanding. A knock came at the office door. It was Julia. "There's someone here to see you," she said, her voice oddly calm. "Who?" Mia asked. Julia smiled. "Just come see." When Mia stepped into the main room, a group of kids surrounded a tall woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Beside her stood Liam and Jake. Mia froze. "Boys?" she whispered. They ran into her arms. "Miss Mia!" Jake shouted. We missed you so much. Mia held them both tightly, unable to speak for a moment. Our new mom said we could come visit, Liam said. We wanted to thank you. Again. Behind them, the woman stepped forward. You saved my boys before I ever knew them. She said gently. I wanted to meet the woman who changed all our lives. Mia smiled through her tears. I didn't save them. I just gave them a warm plate of pancakes. Sometimes, the woman replied. That's all it takes. As the boys ran to join the others in the garden, Mia noticed something unusual. A black car pulled up quietly outside the center. She didn't recognize it at first, until the door opened, and the president of a major global foundation stepped out. Someone she had only ever seen on TV. People in suits followed behind, holding folders and cameras. Julia leaned over and whispered, I forgot to tell you. You're getting an award. An award? Mia blinked. Yes. For changing lives across the country. For proving that kindness can spread like wildfire. She stood in shock as the cameras turned toward her. The foundation's president walked up, shaking her hand with genuine warmth. Miss Maya, he began, your story has moved millions. You didn't just help two boys. You lit a spark that inspired a movement. You showed the world that one small act done with love can shift everything. He handed her a glass trophy. It was engraved with just 3 words. For Booth 9. As the applause filled the room, Mia glanced toward the garden. Keanu stood there quietly, leaning against the fence, watching with that same calm smile. He gave her a small wave. She walked toward him as the crowd dispersed. You knew this would happen, she said softly. No, he replied. I just knew the world needed to see what I saw that day. She looked down at the trophy. I'm just a waitress. No, Keanu said. You're a lighthouse. That evening, as the sun set, the community center hosted its first Booth 9 gala. Local musicians played, kids danced, and families shared stories of hope and recovery. People from different backgrounds came together, not to honor celebrities or wealth, but to honor simple human kindness. As the event slowed down, Keanu took the stage. I've played many roles, he said into the mic, but the best one I've had is this, watching people become heroes in real life. Mia reminded me that we don't need to wear capes to change the world. Sometimes we just need to notice the child in the rain, the mother with no home, the teenager who thinks no one cares. He paused. And when we see them, we act. That's Booth 9. The crowd stood in silence, hearts moved. Mia stepped up next, taking a deep breath. I thought kindness didn't matter, she said. I thought no one saw the small things. But I was wrong, someone saw, and because he cared, I found my voice again. Tears rolled down cheeks across the room. In the months that followed, Booth 9 became a global phrase. Schools began teaching the story in classrooms. Restaurants started pay-it-forward programs in Keanu's name. And Mia? She became a national speaker, sharing the power of unnoticed kindness with people from all walks of life. But she never left the community center. Not completely. Because every Saturday morning she still poured cocoa for the new kids. She still sat in the same corner where Jake once drew smiling suns and Liam once cried into his pancakes. And every Saturday, Booth 9 was reserved. A small sign on the table read, reserved for those who care. One day a new young volunteer walked in, nervous and unsure. Mia greeted her with a warm smile. You're here to help? She asked. The girl nodded. I hope I can. Mia looked around at the happy noise, the lives changing, the joy bursting from every corner. You already have, she said. Then she handed the girl a badge, Booth 9 volunteer. Because the story never ended, it simply grew, from one plate of pancakes to the whole world.